You know, right now, this very second, there is an invisible war being fought inside your body. It is a constant, high-stakes battle against literally trillions of invading microbes. So in this explainer, we're going to give you a front-row seat to your body's own personal battlefield, the immune system. So here's our battle plan. First, we'll get to know the enemy. Then, we'll meet the first responders on the front lines and the elite special forces they call in for backup. We're going to break down their attack plans, see how a victory is won, and, maybe most importantly, remembered. And finally, we'll look at what happens when this amazing defense system goes wrong.
All right, let's get right into it. The first rule of any battle, right? You've got to know your enemy. Your immune system is basically on patrol 24/7, constantly scanning for anything that just doesn't belong.
And the way it spots the bad guys is by their uniform. This uniform is called an antigen. Think of it like a molecular flag that just screams, "Hey, I'm not from around here." Now, your body is absolutely brilliant at telling the difference between its own cells, what we call self, and these foreign, non-self substances. And that skill, that's what stops it from attacking its own tissues. It's crucial. So, an invader wearing a foreign antigen has just breached the gates. Who's the first on the scene? Well, that would be the frontline defense, a tough group of cells we call phagocytes. These first responders come in two main flavors. First up, you've got the neutrophils. These are the fast, aggressive foot soldiers. They swarm the site of an infection in huge numbers. Then you have the macrophages. Think of these guys as the long-lived field commanders. They don't just fight, they're smart. They gather intel by literally tearing off a piece of the enemy's antigen uniform and displaying it to call in the big guns.
And how do they actually destroy the enemy? It's a process called phagocytosis, and it's pretty brutal. First, chemical signals draw them to the battle. They lock onto the bad guy, and then they just completely engulf it. They pull it inside, trap it, and then just blast it with digestive enzymes until it's gone. It's an incredibly effective process that's happening inside you all the time.
But, sometimes the frontline troops get overwhelmed. That alarm that the macrophages raised, well, it's a signal that it's time to call in the elite special forces of the immune system, the lymphocytes.
So let's take a look at the roster for these elite forces. First, we've got B cells. They mature in your bone marrow and basically become our mobile antibody factories. Then we have the T cells. These guys mature in a little gland called the thymus, and they have a few different jobs. You've got the T helper cells, who are like the generals coordinating the whole attack, and then you have the T killer cells. These are the assassins that hunt down and eliminate your own cells that have been infected. Now, these special forces are way too sophisticated to just run in blindly. No, they operate with precise, coordinated attack strategies that are tailor-made for specific threats.
Which brings us to a really important question. How in the world does your body mobilize the exact right soldiers for one very specific enemy out of millions of possibilities?
Well, they have two main battle plans. The first is cell-mediated immunity. You can think of this as the ground assault. T cells get right up close and personal, destroying body cells that have already been compromised. The second plan is humoral immunity, which is more like air support. B cells release a flood of antibodies into your body fluids to neutralize invaders before they even have a chance to do any damage.
The way the body builds this targeted army is just incredible. It starts with something called clonal selection. So out of millions and millions of B and T cells, the body finds the one single cell that has the perfect receptor to match the enemy's antigen. Once that perfect soldier is found, a T helper cell activates it and gives the order to multiply. This is called clonal expansion, and it builds a massive army of identical clones, all perfectly designed to fight this one specific invader. It's this amazing targeting system that makes sure your body doesn't waste energy. It builds a precise army only for the enemy it's facing right now. Okay, so the army is built, the attack is launched, and the invaders are getting wiped out. Let's look at what victory really means in this war and how the body makes sure it's ready for the future.
The weapons that the B cells use are antibodies, and man, are they versatile. They can neutralize toxins, they can clump pathogens together to make a big, easy target for the cleanup crews, they can even grab onto bacteria and stop them from moving. They can also just paint a target on invaders, marking them for destruction, and sometimes they just go ahead and punch holes right into the bacterial walls. It's a whole arsenal in one molecule. Winning the battle is one thing, but preventing the next one is the real goal. And this, right here, is the game changer. After the fight is over, some of those specialized B and T cells, they don't die off. They become memory cells. These are the veteran soldiers that patrol your bloodstream for years, sometimes for your entire life, ready to sound the alarm if that same enemy ever dares to show up again.
And if that sounds familiar, it's because this is the exact principle behind how vaccines work. A vaccine is basically a training exercise for your immune army. It introduces a harmless piece of the enemy's uniform, that antigen, which lets your body go through the whole process of building up a powerful squadron of memory cells, all without ever having to fight the real dangerous disease.
So, if our immune system is this smart, why do we still get sick from things like the flu every year? Good question. Well, it turns out our enemies are pretty clever too. Viruses like influenza are constantly mutating and changing their antigen uniforms. It's a process called antigenic variation. And what it means is our veteran memory cells just don't recognize them anymore, and the whole fight has to start all over again from scratch.
This whole system is an unbelievably powerful, life-saving weapon. But with great power comes great risk. So now we have to turn to the darker side. What happens when this intricate, beautiful system goes wrong? It's a really sobering thought, isn't it? A system that's designed to protect us with such incredible precision. What happens when its targeting system just breaks?
Well, the result is what we know as an autoimmune disease. And this is the ultimate tragic case of friendly fire. The immune system completely loses its ability to tell self from non-self, and it launches a devastating attack against the body's own healthy tissues.
And these failures can take different forms. You can have a production failure, like in leukemia. That's a cancer where the body's factory just starts churning out massive numbers of useless, immature white blood cells, which leaves the body totally defenseless. Or you can have a very specific autoimmune attack, like in myasthenia gravis, where the body creates antibodies that actually go and block the signals between your nerves and muscles, leading to severe weakness. So as you can see, our body's battlefield is incredibly complex. It's got heroes and traitors, brilliant strategies, and tragic errors. But the most amazing part is that it's a system that is constantly learning. And that leaves us with a final, fascinating question to think about. As we learn more and more about this incredible internal army, how can we better train it, arm it, and direct it to conquer our biggest health challenges, from cancer to future pandemics? The battle, for sure, continues.